I have my rod handle installed on my blank. I just glued on my tip top and aligned it with my reel seat. Now, I'd like to show you how to use our guide foot adhesive to temporarily attach our guides to our blank and align it to our reel seat prior to wrapping. On most guides, I like to do a little prep work on the guide foot. That makes it a little easier for that thread to climb up on the guide foot off the rod blank. I want to make sure that both ends of those guides are sitting down good and flat. And on bigger guides, I like to use a belt sander. The Dremel tool works good on small guides, but a belt sander works good on big guides. Next, we want to install the motor lock to turn our power rod wrapper into a guide alignment tool. That locks the chuck. You can put that reel seat with the hood straight up. You can always tell when you're standing straight over the rod wrapper by looking at the center stripe and also the uprights. Now, we're going to glue these guides to the blank. On these small guides, I like to use a cigarette lighter. It works great. Apply a little bit of guide foot adhesive, not too much. And notice that black dot on that rod. That's how I mark my guide spacing. And I covered up with that rear guide foot. I pressed it down with my fingers like that. And I can tell when I'm standing straight over that rod because of that center stripe. And this is what I see. You see that center stripe on the rod wrapping machine. And that guide is straight up, and those triangles are perfectly symmetrical. On this guide, it's an asymmetrical guide, so you can't use those little triangles on both sides because they're not the same size, so you have to use the outside of the ring. This one's just easy as pie. It's symmetrical. Those little triangles are symmetrical. You can get it up straight as can be. I don't need to explain on this one. It's just straight up and down. Your reel seat's straight up and down, so you're good to go. You know, when we heat up the guide feet on these bigger guides, a little propane lighter doesn't do the trick for me. I use a propane tart, and that heats up the big guides a little faster. Here we've shot a little short video on installing the guides on a spinning rod. We speeded it up because it takes us about 2 minutes to do this, so we cut it down to about 30 seconds. You know, after you do a few rides like this with the guide foot adhesive, it's really not that hard to master this system. I'll switch over to that cigarette lighter on those small guides because I like to use the cigarette lighter on the small guides. You know, some people use masking tape to glue these guides on, but the guide foot adhesive works great and really makes, I think, a stronger wrap. You don't have to use tape, just glue them on. Now we're going back to our original casting rod that we started with, and after you wrap these guides, if you need to do a little minor tweaking, you can do that. You know, if you understand this technique, you don't have to have this exact piece of equipment. I used to use masking tape to lock my rod into my hand rod wrapper. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. Temporarily attaching the guides like this takes a little practice, but if you master it, it really is a good way to do it. These guides are on there pretty darn stout. And the guide foot adhesive works to protect your blank similar to an under wrap. I think we're ready to wrap this baby up.